The signal the night sky above the alien world of Vera was alive with shifting colors. Their twin moons bled silver light across the black mountains, and the air carried a faint taste of iron dust. On the high cliffs, the Veran cities glowed. With fragile towers of crystal and glass, their designs delicate, almost afraid of the world that surrounded them. The Verans were not a warrior people. They were singers, engineers of light, artists who carved harmony into stone. For generations they had lived carefully, avoiding war, paying tribute to the stronger empires that circled them. Tonight, something changed, a signal low, resonant. Unlike anything they had ever heard crossed their skies. It was not broadcast on the usual trade bands. It was not coded in imperial tongue. It was raw, sharp, and carried a weight like thunder rolling across the void. The high chamber gathered. In panic, "This is no ordinary call," hissed Arundel, first speaker of the Verans. His voice trembled, though he tried to hide it. "It cuts across every defense screen, every filter. Something forces us to hear it." A chamber filled with whispers. Then the sound came again, stronger this time. "This is the fleet of Sol. The Deathworlders have returned. We are coming." The words were simple, translated automatically by their systems, but the weight of them struck like a hammer. Verans had heard the name before. Not in songs, not in treaties, but in old warnings whispered from the Galactic Council itself. Humans, Deathworlders, born on a planet where storms ripped oceans apart, where predators stalked forests, where survival was never guaranteed. They had spread like wildfire centuries ago, reckless and stubborn. Then, as suddenly as they came, the humans had disappeared, cut off by wars, disasters. Mysteries no one fully explained. Now, the signal said, they were back. Down below, in the worker districts, Kalen stared up at the sky. Kalen was not Veran. He was human, one of the few left in these domains, stranded years ago when his ship failed and no one would risk returning into Sol. He had built a quiet life among the Verans, repairing their fragile machines, teaching them tricks of metal, and flame that they could never master alone. They called him outsider, sometimes with respect, sometimes with fear. Tonight, his heart hammered in his chest as the signal echoed again. Human voices. A human fleet. For years he had thought Sol was gone, that humanity had collapsed into ashes. But now there was proof. The Verans around him recoiled in fear, whispering, "Deathworlders are coming. They will burn us." Kalen clenched his fists. "No," he whispered. "They're coming for me." In the high chamber, Arundel turned to the council. "We must decide quickly. If the Deathworlder fleet enters our domain, the council will punish us if we aid them. Yet if we resist, we may bring destruction upon Vera itself." The chamber grew silent. One young counselor dared to speak. "What if the stories are lies? What if the Deathworlders are not monsters, but allies?" Gasps followed. To question the council's teaching was dangerous, but the thought lingered, like a spark in dry grass. And far above, hidden beyond the moons, the first shadows of ships began to appear on long-range scans. The fleet of Sol was coming. Kalen felt it in his bones. They weren't here to conquer. They were here because someone or something had forced them into the open. And whatever that was, it was already waiting inside the Veran domains. Asterisk whispers of the council. The signal spread like wildfire through Vera. Markets closed early. The crystal bridges between districts fell silent. Children were pulled indoors as rumors ran faster than truth. Every voice repeated the same word: Deathworlders. The stories had been told for generations, always with fear. Humans who burned their own skies with weapons of fire. Humans who tamed. Storms who fought wars with machines that thought like gods. Humans who once stood against the Galactic Council itself and vanished. Now they were back in the high chamber. The leaders of Vera argued until the night bled into dawn. Arundel, first speaker, sat in the center, his crystal mask glimmering with fatigue. "We cannot defy the Galactic Council," said one elder. "If they command us to resist the humans, we must obey. Survival depends on loyalty." Another countered, voice sharp as glass. "And if we resist, the humans will break us before the Council even arrives. We cannot withstand a Deathworlder fleet." The room split, voices clashing like waves. Arundel raised a hand. Silence fell, brittle and uneasy. "We will not decide tonight. The Council has already sent word. They request a report. We will. Delay. Watch. Learn what these humans seek." Delay. It was the only weapon weak nations ever had. Meanwhile, Kalen worked in the lower districts, hands blackened with oil. He had not slept since the signal. Every pulse of it shook his bones with a strange, familiar ache, the sound of home calling from across the stars. The Virans avoided him more than usual. Mothers pulled children aside when he passed. Old traders whispered, "One of them." He knew this was coming. Kalen ignored it. He was used to suspicion. But when he returned to his workshop, someone was waiting for him. A slim figure leaned against the doorway, scales shimmering faintly blue in the lamplight. Lyra, still alive. "Human?" she teased, though her eyes carried no humor. Kalen smiled faintly. Lyra was one of the few who treated him as something more than a danger or tool. They had worked together, often her skill with crystalline circuits matched his knowledge of stubborn metals. "You've heard the signal," he said quietly, her crest folded back in unease. "The whole planet has. The Council whispers fill the streets. They say your people are a storm that leaves only ruin." Kalen's jaw tightened. "That's not the whole truth." "Then tell me the truth, Kalen." Her gaze was sharp. "What will they bring?" He hesitated. What could he say? He had never seen Saul's fleets himself. Only fragments of human tech he managed to keep alive. He had no answers, only instincts. "They'll bring choice," he finally said. "Something the Council doesn't want you to have." Later that night, as the moons painted the mountains silver, Kalen climbed the cliffs above the city. He carried a battered Comlink Ancient, half-functional, repaired a dozen times with alien scraps. He aimed it skyward. "Fleet of Soul," he whispered. "This is Kalen, stranded human, speaking from Vera. If you hear this, you're not alone." The cum sputtered static, then cleared. A voice strong, steady, undeniably human answered. "Kalen, you are received. Stand by. We are coming for you." His knees nearly gave out. For the first time in years, he had spoken to his own kind. But before he could reply, another signal cut across the line, sharp, cold, mechanical. "Unauthorized human transmission detected. Council security en route." Kalen cursed and shut the device down, heart pounding. They had been listening. The Galactic Council had always been listening. The next morning, soldiers marched through the streets. Not Viren soldiers, they had none. These wore the black armor of the Council enforcers, towering figures with faceless helms. The people shrank from them in silence. Everyone knew. Where enforcers walked, obedience followed. Kalen was seized before noon. "You are Kalen of Soul," the enforcer said, voice metallic and cruel. "You have transmitted unauthorized signals. You will come with us." The Varens in the market turned away, pretending not to see. Only Lyra met his eyes, her crest trembling with helpless anger. Kalen didn't resist. Not yet. They dragged him into the high chamber, dropping him before the Council. Arundel sat at the center, mask gleaming, expression unreadable. The enforcer spoke, This human attempted to contact the invading fleet. Such treachery must be punished. By council decree, he is to be executed. Gasps filled the chamber. Even the most fearful elders paled. Arundel raised a hand slowly. Execution here, in front of our people? That will bring unrest. He has lived among us for years without uprising. Let us question him first. The enforcer turned its faceless helm. The council does not question. The council commands. Kalen looked up, defiance burning. If you kill me, you'll prove every story about the council true. Monsters hiding behind laws. The enforcer raised its weapon. Arendel's voice cut in sharply. Enough. We will hold him in the crystal vault until the council arrives. His fate will be theirs to decide. The enforcer paused, then lowered the weapon. Very well. He is your problem until judgment falls. Kalen was hauled away, locked into a narrow cell carved deep beneath the city. The walls shimmered with DAMP crystal, alive with faint energy that hummed against his skin. He sat in the darkness, fists clenched. They were coming for him. His people. His fleet dot, but would they reach him before the council decided his fate? Above, Lyra confronted Arundel privately. You can't hand him over, she hissed. The council will make an example of him. And when the Deathworlders arrive, Arendel's mask tilted toward her. And what would you have me do, young one? Defy the council? Place Vera in the fire between two storms? They say humans are cruel, Lyra said softly. But Kalen has lived among us, led among us. Is that cruelty? Arendel's silence was long, heavy. Finally, he spoke. There is more at stake here than one life. The council fears something. That is why they act so quickly. What do they fear? Lyra pressed asterisk. Arendel's voice dropped. A whisper. The signal. That night, Kalen heard footsteps in the crystal vault. A shadow slipped into view. It was Lyra, her scales muted in the dim light. She pressed a tool to the lock. You're a fool, Kalen whispered. Asterisk. Maybe, she muttered, working the mechanism. But if you die, my people will never know the truth. The door clicked open. Kalen stepped out, heart racing. Where can we go? Lyra's crest flicked nervously. There's a place in the mountains. Old listening posts abandoned after the council forbade them. If we reach it, maybe your people can find us before. The floor trembled. A distant boom echoed through the vault, dust raining from the ceiling. Kalen froze. What was that? Lyra's eyes widened. Not your fleet. The council. They've already arrived. Asterisk, the first contact, the mountains groaned with thunder not born of storms. Kalen and Lyra scrambled out of the vault just as tremors shook the city above. Through the crystal tunnels, they caught glimpses of the sky, black shapes blotting out the moons, engines glowing like cold fire. The council fleet had arrived, massive carriers, all angular lines and polished black, descended over Vera's crystal spires. Their presence was suffocating, a reminder of the Empire's power. Every Veran cowered in silence, knowing even a whisper of defiance could mean annihilation. Kellen's jaw tightened. He had seen drawings of these ships in Forbidden's archives, vessels meant not for exploration, not for mercy, but for control. Your people must hurry, Lyra whispered beside him. Her crest pressed flat against her skull in fear. If they delay even one cycle, the council will bury this entire city. Kalen said nothing, though his chest burned. He wanted to shout to the skies, to call his people faster. But that would only reveal himself. By dawn, the enforcers had filled the streets. Their black armor reflected no light. They moved in silence, faceless, inhuman. The citizens obeyed every silent gesture, every sweep of their weapons. At the center plaza, Arundel and the high chamber stood waiting. The council overseer descended in a column of white light. Unlike the enforcers, this one had a face or something like it. Its skin was pale gray, stretched taut, eyes black as polished stone. Its robe shimmered faintly with embedded circuitry. "M. Overseer Thallon," it said, voice echoing unnaturally through the plaza. "By decree of the Galactic Council, Vera is under emergency oversight. A fleet of Deathworlders approaches. You will resist them. You will destroy them. You will prove your loyalty." The plaza was silent. No one dared breathe. Arundel bowed his masked head. "We are loyal, Overseer. Yet we are small. Our fleets are few, our weapons weaker than those you command. If the humans come in force, do not question," Thallon snapped. "You will stand as the council commands, or you will not stand at all." The crowd trembled. Kalen, hidden in the shadows near the edge of the plaza with Lyra, felt his stomach twist. He had heard tyranny before, in human wars. But hearing it directed at his adoptive home struck differently. The overseer raised a hand. A hologram sparked to life grainy, but clear enough. Ships, dozens, their hulls scarred, forged in rugged lines unlike the sleek council craft. Engines flared blue-white, alive with raw power. The fleet of Sol. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The hologram alone carried a weight of fear and awe. "They are monsters," Thallon intoned, "predators born of chaos. They will devour your world if you allow them. But the council protects you. Obey, and you will be safe." Kellen's fists clenched. He wanted to shout, to tell them the truth, that humanity had come not as predators, but as guardians. That Saul's fleet would not destroy unless forced, but his voice would not reach them now. Not yet. That night, Arundel summoned Kalen in secret. Lyra guided him through back passages into a chamber lit only by faint crystals. Arundel's mask gleamed as he turned. "The Overseer demands your death. Yet I have stayed his hand for now." Kalen studied the elder carefully. "Why? If you fear humans, why protect me?" Arundel's voice lowered. "Because fear does not explain the council's haste. They arrived too quickly, as though they expected your fleet. And they do not want you alive to speak. They don't fear me," Kalen said slowly. "They fear what I know, what I might tell." Arundel inclined his head. "Then tell me, Kalen of Soul, what truth does the council hide?" Kalen hesitated. He only had fragments whispers from intercepted transmissions, strange readings. He'd picked up on his patched comb. But the pattern was clear enough. "The signal," he said finally. "It wasn't sent by humans. It was triggered. Someone broadcast it into your space. My people heard it, and they came. The council fears why." Arundel's mask tilted, unreadable. "And why would the council fear?" "Because whatever sent that signal," Kalen said, "was never meant to be found." At the edge of Vera's orbit, the first human ship slipped into view. It was smaller than the council's carriers, but radiated power. Its hull bore scars of meteors and battles, yet it glowed with stubborn life. The ship carried a name burned into its side, Uns Resolute. When its signal cut through the void, every listening device trembled. "This is Captain Mira Holt of the United Nations Stellar Fleet. We come seeking our lost. We come in peace if peace is given." The words were simple. But on Vera, they landed like falling fire in the high chamber. Overseer Thallon's voice turned sharp. "Lies. They come cloaked in honeyed words, but they are death itself. You will not answer them. You will prepare for battle." Arundel bowed, but inside his mask his mind churned. He glanced once toward Kalen, hidden at the chamber's edge. Humans had spoken not of conquest, but of searching for their own. For him, by the next day, the Resolute held orbit above Vera. It did not fire, did not threaten. Instead, it sent a single request. "We ask to speak." To meet, to prove we are not the monsters you fear, the overseer refused outright. Deathworlders cannot be reasoned with. If they set foot on this world, they will corrupt it. But Arendel's council stirred uneasily. The younger voices whispered, "What if they are different? What if the council has lied?" The overseer sensed the doubt and grew harsher. Any Viran who speaks to them will be executed. Their poison must not spread. That night, Lyra smuggled Kalen to a high balcony overlooking the spaceport. Above them, the Resolute glowed faintly against the stars. Kalen's throat tightened. His people were right there close enough. He could almost imagine stepping aboard. But one step out of line, and the council would burn Vera. Lyra touched his arm gently. "You could go to them. Leave this world behind." Kalen shook his head. "Not while your people are chained by lies. If humans arrive as conquerors, the council wins. I have to show them what we really are." "And how will you do that?" she asked. He didn't answer. Not yet. The next morning, the council made its move. From orbit, a black carrier descended, lowering a weapon like a spear of light. It struck the mountains outside the city, carving. A wound of molten stone. The overseer's voice thundered across every broadcast. "This is the price of hesitation. Obey, or Vera will burn." Panic spread like fire. Citizens cried out, rushing into the streets. Crystals shattered, towers quaked, and above, the Resolute broke silence. "Stop your attack, or we will intervene." The council fleet immediately shifted into formation, weapons aimed skyward. The humans had been drawn into the open. Kalen felt the air grow heavy with the weight of an unseen trigger. One spark and war would consume them all. Arundel, for once, broke protocol. He turned to Kalen, voice urgent. "Human, you know your people better than we. If they are not conquerors, prove it now or Vera is lost." Kalen stepped forward, heart pounding. He opened a comlink with trembling hands, patched crudely into the human frequency. "This is Kalen, stranded on Vera. I am alive. Listen. To me, the council wants war, but the Verans do not. Hold your fire." Silence followed. Then Captain Holt's voice came, steady and strong. "Kalen, we hear you. We will not fire first." Relief washed through him, then turned cold. "Because." The overseer was smiling. "You have revealed yourself," Fallon said softly. "Now you are the bait." And with a gesture, the overseer commanded the enforcers. Kalen was seized, dragged into the open plaza. A weapon pressed against his chest dot above. The Resolute maneuvered closer, alarms blazing across the city. "Humans of soul," Fallon's voice roared across the channels. "Surrender your fleet or watch your own die before your eyes." Fire over Veraith. Plaza glared with white light. Kalen knelt on the crystal floor, arms pinned by two enforcers. Their grips were iron, their faceless helms reflecting the twin moons. Overseer Thallon stood above him, one clawed hand raised toward the sky as though addressing gods. "Behold!" His voice thundered through every channel. "This is the truth of Deathworlders. One alone can shatter your loyalty. Imagine what a fleet will do." Asterisk the Virans in the crowd shivered, torn between fear and doubt. Lyra pushed forward, crest trembling, but the enforcers barred her path. Above, the Resolute hung silent, caught in impossible tension. Asterisk Kellen's heart pounded. He could feel the weight of his people's gaze from orbit. He could almost hear their voices in his blood. "Hold." "Endure." Captain Holt's voice crackled faintly in his earpiece, patched through his hidden cum bead. Asterisk, Kalen, we're locked on your position. We can strike, but you'll be caught in the blast. We need a signal. Do we engage? Kalen swallowed hard. The council wanted humanity to fire first. One shot, and the story would be sealed forever. Deathworlders, monsters of violence. Asterisk. He whispered back, "Hold. Don't give them the story they want." The overseer's hand dropped. The enforcer pressed its weapon against Kalen's chest, energy whining as it charged. The crowd gasped. Lyra cried out, her voice breaking, "Stop!" And then the mountains roared. A sound like thunder rolled across the horizon. The ground trembled, crystal towers quivering. From the western peaks, fire flared into the sky missiles, dozens of them, streaking toward orbit. Council weapon. Platforms.Ka-ELEN realized it instantly. They had planted hidden launchers around Vera, waiting for this moment. Above, the Resolute flared its shields as the missiles slammed into them. The night lit up with fire, the sky turning into a storm of explosions. The humans did not fire back. Not yet. See? Overseer Thalen shouted, his voice triumphant. Even now, they prepared to strike. Witness the Deathworlders revealed. The lie was perfect. The Council fleet opened fire. Beams of searing energy stabbed upward, spearing toward the Resolute. This time, the humans answered from the Resolute's flanks. Railguns spat fire, intercepting beams with showers of molten metal. Smaller escort craft darted from behind the larger ship, weaving patterns of defense. The sky above Vera became a storm of light. The crowd screamed, scattering in terror. Crystal towers cracked, raining shards as shockwaves rattled the city. In the chaos, Lyra darted through the enforcers, slamming a stolen tool into one's leg joint. Sparks flared. The enforcer staggered, grip loosening. Kalen twisted, ripping free of the other's hold. He grabbed its fallen weapon, the crystal grip burning his hands, and fired point blank. The enforcer collapsed in a shower of sparks. He spun to Lyra, breath ragged. "We have to move." The two fled through crumbling alleys as blasts shook the ground. The sky glowed red, Council and human fire trading overhead. "Where are we going?" Lyra gasped. "To the mountains," Kalen said. "If there's an old listening post there like you said, I can boost a signal to the fleet, show them the truth. And if the Council catches us first?" He gave her a tight, grim smile. "Then we make sure they regret it." Meanwhile, in orbit, Captain Holt gripped her chair, eyes locked on the chaos below. "Status?" She barked. "Shields at 60%, her officer replied. "Council fleet pressing hard. They want us pinned over the planet." "And Kalen?" A Comtech raised his head. "Signal intermittent. He's alive, moving west." Holt's jaw tightened. Protect him at all costs. If the Council wanted him dead, they'd have executed him immediately. "No, they want us to break. That means he's the key." Her second officer frowned. "Captain, with respect, we can't win a fleet engagement here. We're outnumbered. If more Council ships arrive, then we show them what Deathworlders do best," Holt said, eyes cold. "We survive." On the ground, Kalen and Lyra reached the edge of the city. Behind them, towers crumbled, fire spreading. Above, human and Council ships clashed in streaks of light. The mountains loomed ahead, jagged and dark. They ran until their lungs burned, slipping into a narrow pass. Wind howled through the cliffs, carrying the bitter tongue of scorched stone. "There," Lyra panted, pointing. A ruined spire jutted from the rock, an old listening post, long abandoned. Its surface was cracked, but faint power lines still pulsed deep inside. Kalen forced the door, sparks crackling as it ground open. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with dust. Old consoles lined the walls, covered in crystal growths. He hurried to the largest, ripping out vines of dead wiring. "If I can get this running, I can broadcast a wide-band feed. Show your people what's really happening." Lyra moved to help, her claws scraping circuits clean. Her crest lifted slightly, defiance sparking in her eyes. Then let's give the council their truth. But they were not alone. Boots clanged against the stone outside. Shadows flickered at the doorway enforcers, their black armor glowing faintly in the gloom. Kalen froze. They tracked us. Lyra gripped a shard of broken crystal, her stance low. Then we fight. The enforcers stepped inside, weapons. Humming, Kalen slammed his hand against the console, sparks flaring as systems roared to life. A faint hum filled the chamber, the old dish outside beginning to shift. The enforcers charged. Kalen grabbed the nearest tool, a length of pipe, and swung. The first blow dented armor, sending one staggering. Lyra darted in, slashing across. Another's visor with her shard. Sparks burst, lighting the gloom. But there were too many. An enforcer raised its weapon, aiming at Kellen's chest. And then the room shook as a deafening blast ripped through the doorway. The enforcer's staggered one fell in pieces, cut by a beam of blue-white light. Kalen shielded his eyes. Smoke cleared, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. A human, battle-scarred armor, face grim, rifle glowing with heat. "You Kalen?" the soldier barked. Kellen's breath caught. For years he had dreamed of this moment, and now it stood before him, brutal and real. "Yes," he whispered. The soldier nodded once. "Then we're here for you. Fleet sent us groundside before the council locked orbit. Let's move." But Kalen shook his head. "No, not yet. We have to finish this first." He pointed to the console, screens flickering with static. "The council has your fleet painted as aggressors. If I can broadcast proof they struck first, every Varen will see it. Maybe even other worlds." The soldier's eyes narrowed. "That'll take time we don't have." "We'll make time," Kalen said, fire in his voice. "Because if we don't, this war spreads. And Vera burns with it." The soldier studied him for a moment, then slammed another power cell into his rifle. "Fine. I'll hold the door. You get that feed running." Outside, the sound of approaching enforcers grew louder. Lara worked beside Kalen, claws flying. Over circuits, power levels rising. Dish alignment 90% almost there. Kalen gritted his teeth, rerouting energy with trembling hands. The console blazed, static clearing. A wideband channel opened. He hit transmit. "People of Vera," he said, voice shaking but clear. "Look to your skies. See the truth for yourselves." The feed cut across every channel, overriding council broadcasts. Citizens froze in the streets, their walls glowing with images of orbit. The council's first strike, the human fleet holding fire, the lies laid bare. Gasps rose. Doubt spread like fire, and the overseer's fury echoed through every speaker. "Treason! Shut it down! Destroy them!" Kellen's console blazed red. A surge of power roared back through the system council jammers. Locking onto the feed, he slammed his fists against the controls. "They're cutting us off," Lyra cried out. "Kalen, look!" Through the cracked windows of the spire, they saw the sky ignite. The council's main carrier descending, its weapon banks glowing. It wasn't aiming for the humans. It was aiming for the mountains. For them. Asterisk, the Deathworlder secret. The mountains burned. Beam of white fire lanced downward from the council carrier, striking the cliff face. Stone exploded in a thunderous roar. Shards of molten rock rained across the listening post. Walls shuddering, consoles sparking. Kalen staggered, shielding Lyra as heat swept through the chamber. The soldier at the door raised his rifle, firing burst after burst at enforcers that forced their way inside. "We won't hold if that carrier fires again," the soldier shouted. Kellen's hands shook over the controls. The broadcast was cut, the dish melted, smoke filling the chamber. His chance to reveal the truth was gone, unless He found another way. Outside, the sky split as the Resolute dove between the carrier and the mountain. Its shields flared, intercepting the beam. Rocks avalanched around them, but the mountain held. Kellen's cum bead crackled with Captain Holt's voice. "Kalen, hold position. We've got you covered, but we need to talk now. You deserve to know why we came." Minutes later, the soldier hustled Kalen and Lyra through a hidden tunnel that wound deeper into the mountain. They emerged in a cavern where a small human shuttle waited, its engines glowing faintly. Inside, the shuttle smelled of metal and oil, harsh and real. Kellen's chest tightened as he stepped across the threshold. It had been years since he'd touched human steel. The soldier guided them to the cockpit. A holoscreen flickered to life, revealing Captain Holt's face-scarred, weathered, eyes hard as forged iron. "Kalen," she said, "stranded, forgotten, but not lost. I'm sorry. It took this long." He swallowed. "Why now? Why return after all these years?" Her gaze sharpened. "Because of the signal." Lyra leaned forward, crest quivering. "It wasn't from your fleet?" Holt shook her head. "No. The broadcast that reached us wasn't a call for aid. It was a trigger. Old tech buried deep in this sector. Something lit it up, and we caught it on the edge of soul space." Kalen frowned. "But the Council said—" "The Council lies," Holt cut in. "They always have. That signal wasn't meant to reach us. It was meant to do one thing: activate dormant weapons hidden across these domains. Kill systems designed to erase entire populations if they stepped out of line." Lyra's breath hitched. "Erase us?" Holt nodded grimly. "Not just Vera. Every world under Council control, especially the weak. They built a leash out of extinction, Kalen. Someone triggered it. We came to stop it." Kellen's chest tightened, anger surging hot and sharp. "So that's why they want me dead. If I live long enough to hear the truth, to tell the Varens, their leash snaps." "Exactly," Holt said. "You're proof humans aren't here to conquer. You're proof we fight for those who can't." Lyra staggered back, claws clutching the wall. "My people, we've lived under them for centuries. We thought their protection was the only reason we survived, but it was the opposite. They held the knife all along." Kalen stepped to her side, steadying her. "Then we take the knife away." Holt's image flickered, alarm screaming in the background. "Council reinforcements inbound. We're outnumbered. If we stay pinned here, they'll wipe Vera clean to hide the truth." Kalen clenched his fists. "Then we need to show every world what they're hiding, not just Vera, all of them." Holt's eyes softened, just for a heartbeat. "That's the kind of thinking that built Saul's fleets. I'll get you aboard the Resolute. Together, we'll burn their lies down." The hala snapped dark. The shuttle shook violently as blasts lit the sky above. The soldier shoved Kalen and Lyra into harnesses. "Hang on, we're punching out." Engines roared, hurling them upward through the cavern mouth. Outside, fire streaked the heavens. The Resolute, battered but unbroken, dancing between Council ships like a wolf among hounds. Kellen's heart thundered as the shuttle pierced the clouds. For the first time, he saw his people's fleet with his own eye-scarred ships. Mismatched, forged from survival, not perfection. Deathworlders, but not monsters. Never monsters. The shuttle slammed into the Resolute's hangar. Crew swarmed. Faces grim, but alive with fierce purpose. Their eyes widened when they saw Kalen, a human among aliens, dressed in Veran garb. One saluted him, voice rough with awe. "Welcome home, brother." Kellen's throat closed. For years he had been an exile, a ghost of humanity. Now he was one of them again. Lyra stepped cautiously onto the deck. The humans stared at her with open curiosity. One offered her water, another a steady nod. No hostility. Her crest fluttered in shock. You treat me as equal? A mechanic grinned. If you're standing beside Kalen, you're family. Lyra's eyes widened. For the first time in her life, she felt something unfamiliar. Safety. On the command deck, Captain Holt stood tall. She extended a hand to Kalen, steady. As stone, you've lived among them. You know their hearts. That makes you more valuable than any weapon. Will you fight with us? Kalen took her hand, fire burning in his chest. Until the last star fades. Holt nodded. Then hear this plan. The signal that triggered the kill systems, it wasn't fully broadcast. The Council jammed part of it. But if we can reach the source buried under Vera, we can shut it down for every world. That means saving billions. But it also means the Council won't stop until they erase us. Kalen finished. Correct. Holt's voice was calm. The choice is yours. Stay safe aboard ship or go back into fire. Kalen glanced at Lyra. Her eyes, once filled with fear, now burned with defiance. There's no choice, he said. We finish this. Together. The bridge trembled. An officer shouted, Captain, the Council carrier is charging its main gun, again targeting the city this time. Holt slammed her fist on the console. If they level Vera, they kill millions to bury the truth. Helm, prepare a dive. We're putting this ship between them and the people. Gasps spread across the deck. To block a Council carrier's cannon was suicide, but Holt's voice was iron. Deathworlders don't let innocents burn. The order stood. Kellen's calm bead crackled. It was Arundel, voice heavy but steady. Human, I have seen your broadcast. The Council's lies crumble, though many still fear. If you mean to shield us, know this. Vera stands with you. I will give what aid I can. Kellen's chest swelled. A fragile bridge had been built. Not through conquest, but through truth. Hold fast, speaker, Kalen said. Because the storm's not done yet. On the viewport, the Council carrier loomed closer. Weapon banks glowing white. The resolute Dove, shields blazing, placing its battered hull between the weapon and the city below. Alarm screamed. Metal groaned. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Shields. Collapsing. An officer cried. Kalen gripped the rail, every muscle taut. Lyra stood beside him, eyes wide with awe and terror. The cannon fired. Light swallowed the stars. Asterisk unity in the storm. Blast hit like the fist of a dying star. The bridge shook as if the mountain itself had torn free and hurled against the Resolutes. Hull, shield screamed, cracking like glass under impossible strain. Crew were thrown from their stations. Sparks sprayed, smoke choking the air. Kalen slammed against the rail, ribs aching. His vision blurred white from the aftershock. When it cleared, the viewport showed the impossible. The city still stood. The Resolute had taken the strike. Metal. Along the ship's flanks glowed molten, plates peeling like bark in fire. Alarms shrieked through the decks. Yet the heart of the vessel beat on. Humans held their ground. Captain Holt stood unbowed, blood streaking her temple. Report! Shields. Gone, an officer barked. Hull integrity critical, multiple decks breached. Another shouted. Weapons at 40%, but the carrier's cycling for another shot. We won't survive a second hit. Holt's jaw set. Then we make sure there isn't a second hit. The Council carrier loomed above, vast and perfect. Forged in sterile shipyards where no life ever fought for survival. Its gun arrays flared as it prepared to erase them. Kellen's mind raced. Logic screamed there was no hope. But in the pit of despair, a memory surfaced years spent on Vera, patching broken irrigation pumps, repairing failing harvesters with scrap and stubborn will. Captain, he rasped. Their main gun, how does it feed? Direct conduit. From reactor core, Holt replied, not missing a beat. Then it's vulnerable. Callan's voice sharpened. We don't need to destroy the whole ship. We just need to jam the conduit before it channels the charge. Force the energy back into their core. Holt's eyes narrowed. You're talking about making them blow. Themselves apart. Callan nodded. Exactly. But we'll need precision. Lyra stepped forward, crest quivering with fear and resolve. I know their schematics. As Council Protectorate, Viera's engineers were forced to study their designs. I can guide you through their weak points. The bridge fell silent. All eyes turned to her. A Veran, an alien, offering the key to victory. Holt didn't hesitate. Then you sit at tactical. We're past the point of distrust. If you've got a shot, take it. The battle began anew. Council escorts swarmed, sleek corvettes cutting across the stars, pouring fire into the wounded Resolute. Human gunners roared defiance, unleashing torpedoes and pulse beams. The ship shook with every exchange. Callan manned. A secondary console, feeding Lyra targeting adjustments, cross-checking Council schematics against human scanners. Together, they became a single-mind. Human stubbornness fused with Veran precision. Port side weak, Lyra cried. Strike. There, near the ventral coupling. On it, Callan relayed. Asterisk, a salvo of human torpedoes screamed across the void. They struck the carrier's underbelly. The shields flared and flickered. A breach. Minimal damage, an officer warned. Doesn't matter, Callan growled. We only need the hull. But the Council knew. Their comms crackled with a voice like venom. Admiral Psychor, commander of the carrier, filled the screen. Cold, flawless features, eyes sharp with contempt. Humans, Psychor sneered. Always reckless, always defiant. You think your rusted husk can stand against 1,000 years of perfected order? You mistake desperation for strength. Captain Holt bared her teeth. Better desperate and free than polished and enslaved. Psychor's smile was thin. Then die with your pets. The transmission cut. The carrier charged its weapon again. Now. Or never, Callan muttered. Asterisk Lyra's claws danced over the console. If we hit their conduit at the moment of charge, feedback will cascade, but timing must be exact. Too early, and nothing. Too late, and we're ash, Holt barked. Helm, line us up. The Resolute dove through a hail of plasma engines. Howling, corvettes slammed against its sides, latching on like carrion. Human Marines poured into the corridors, fighting hand to claw in brutal zero-gravity skirmishes. Blood-spattered walls, but the ship held. Callan and Lyra worked furiously. Their voices overlapped, syncing in rhythm, adjusting target grid, coupling destabilized. Asterisk, shields dropping, will have one clean shot. The carrier's cannon reached full charge. Light bloomed, brighter than suns. Now! Lyra screamed. The Resolute fired. A single lance of plasma cut across the void, slipping through the breach like a blade through ribs. It struck the conduit. Asterisk for a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then the carrier screamed. Light backlashed along its spine, ripping through conduits, shattering bulkheads. The great ship convulsed as its own core consumed it. Flames burst from its sides. Shattered debris spun into the void. The carrier broke apart in silence. A titan slain by its own arrogance. The bridge erupted in cheers. Officers pounded consoles, voices hoarse with triumph. But Callan felt no victory yet. Asterisk, Council reinforcements, he warned, pointing at the scanner. A whole fleet inbound. The screen lit up with dozens of signatures. Frigates. Destroyers. More carriers. The fight had only begun. Asterisk suddenly, Another signal bloomed, different, ragged, desperate. Voices not human, but alien, Varen ships. Rusted freighters, converted miners, tiny corvettes never meant for war. They poured from the clouds, forming a ragged shield around the city. Asterisk on comes, Speaker Arundel's voice rang. Vera answers. We fight with those who bled for us. Lyra's crest shone with pride. Tears blurred her eyes. They came. Kellen's chest tightened. This was it, the proof. Compassion had sparked trust. Trust had forged unity. The humans weren't alone anymore. The battle became chaos incarnate. Council warships descended in disciplined formations, but the sky was no longer theirs. Human frigates, scarred and stubborn, dove between enemy lines. Varen miners rammed escorts, detonating engines in suicidal defiance. Plasma and fire turned the heavens into a storm of death. On the Resolute's bridge, Kalen. And Lyra guided strike after strike, crippling enemy ships. Holt's voice thundered orders, steady as a mountain in the storm, but losses mounted. Each explosion on the viewport was another ally gone. The humans and Virans bled together, their deaths interwoven. "Captain," an officer cried. "We can't hold numbers too great." Kellen's mind raced. The kill signal. The buried system beneath Vera. If they could reach it, maybe. He turned to Holt. We can't win this fight by force. But if we shut down the Council's leash, we break their hold forever. That's the real victory. Holt's eyes met his. For a heartbeat, Iron wavered and she nodded. Then we make a path. All ships form on us. We're driving for the surface. The Resolute plunged, leading the charge. Varan freighters flanked, shielding its battered hull. Council ships rained fire, but the Deathworlder fleet refused to break. The mountains loomed once more. Somewhere beneath their roots, the kill signal pulsed. Kellen's heart hammered. Every second, more lives burned above. If they failed, billions would die enslaved to fear. Lyra's hand brushed his. "We'll make it," she whispered. He gripped it tight. "We have to." The ship roared into the storm. Asterisk. The final descent. Mountains swallowed the Resolute. Storm clouds broke against jagged peaks. Rain hammering metal as the ship forced its way through the narrow canyons. Hull plates peeled and smoked. Engines groaned under strain. Yet the vessel endured, stubborn as the people who built her. Above, the heavens burned. Council fleets descended in endless waves, blotting out stars. But human and Varan ships clung to them, tearing, ramming, dying so. The Resolute could push on, every second bought with blood. Every heartbeat another sacrifice. Kalen stood at the viewport, jaw tight. How close to the signal chamber? Lyra scanned the schematics. Her crest quivered. Deep within the root of the mountains, old tunnels. Carved before my people. Even had history. The Council must have found them and buried their control node there. Captain Holt's voice rang across the bridge. Then we dig it out. Prepare for ground insertion. The ship smashed into a landing zone, more crash than landing. Shockwaves tore through the decks. Alarms wailed. Evacuate to strike teams. Holt barked, already strapping on armor. Marines, engineers, medics, everyone who can carry a weapon, move. Kalen checked his gear. A patched rifle, jury-rigged plasma charges, a pack heavy with tools. Lyra was beside him, trembling but resolute. She carried only a short staff of her people, its crystal tip glowing faint. "You don't have to come," Kalen told her. "I do." Her eyes locked with his. "If this ends, it ends for both our species. And if we succeed, it must be together." Kalen nodded. No more words were needed. The tunnels yawned wide and ancient. carved by forces older than empires. Echoes swallowed footsteps. Fungi pulsed with ghostly light along the walls, painting the path in green-blue haze. Council resistance came. Swift. Drones skittered from alcoves, eyes glowing red. Marines burst from shadow, firing plasma. The humans met them with iron fury. The corridors thundered with gunfire. Grenades cracked stone. Kalen fought like he was back on warfronts, long forgotten. Every motion automatic, brutal, efficient. But this time, he wasn't fighting for survival alone. He fought for a chance at trust. Lyra moved beside him, her staff flaring to deflect bolts, her movements fluid and strange. For every soldier Kalen felled with bullets, she struck another with precise blows that turned machines into sparking wrecks. They were mismatched, yet in rhythm. Human fire and Varen grace. Deeper and deeper they drove, until at last they reached a chamber vast as a cathedral. The heart of the mountain. At its center stood the signal core, a pillar of black alloy, taller than towers, veins of light pulsing up its sides. It hummed with an unnatural rhythm, each pulse echoing across Kellen's bones. This is it, Lyra whispered. Elen approached, scanning with human instruments. Readings spiked beyond limits. Radiation, energy flux, feedback loops feeding into orbital relays. This thing's more than a transmitter, he muttered. It's alive, or near enough. As if in answer, the pillar stirred. Panels split. Shapes unfurled, twisted guardians of alloy and bone, half machine, half beast. Their eyes glowed like dying suns. The chamber filled with the sound of awakening. Hunters. The battle was chaos. Death machines surged, their claws sparking against stone, their cannons belching fire. Humans and Varens met them in a circle of desperate defiance. Marines fell screaming. Drones tore through lines. Kalen and Lyra fought back to back. His rifle spat until barrels overheated. Hers flared with crystal light, staff carving arcs. That shattered enemy cores, but there were too many. Charges. Kalen roared, slamming a pack against the pillar's base. Cover me. Lyra leapt, her staff intercepting a blade aimed for his spine. Sparks sprayed as metal clashed. Elen set the charges, hands shaking. The pillar throbbed with energy. Beneath his palms, as if aware, as if mocking. Kalen. Lyra cried. It's resisting. He saw it too. The pillar drank the charge's energy, bleeding it away like water into sand. Explosives wouldn't be enough. Then he understood. Isn't just tech. It's a parasite. It feeds on fear, on obedience. It won't break by force. We have to overload it with what it can't consume. What's that? Holt demanded, bleeding but still standing. Kalen met her gaze. Choice, defiance, the one thing it was built to crush. He ripped open his pack, dragging out his core tools, signal scramblers, jury-rigged transmitters. He started wiring them directly into the pillar's conduits. Lyra's eyes widened. You'll fry yourself. Asterisk, then I fry. Kellen's voice was steady. But if I can spike it with human Wilnum compliance, defiance, it'll cascade. It'll collapse its whole control network. Holt grabbed his arm. You'll die. Kalen gave a tired smile. I've died before. This time, it means something. The fight raged while he worked. Marines gave their last breath to shield. Him, Lyra refused to leave his side, channeling power through her staff into his jury-rigged array. The pillar screamed. Not with sound, but with pressure inside their skulls. Images crashed into their minds, slavery, despair, worlds on their knees. The Council's perfect order. Kalen grit his teeth. Not today. He slammed the final connection, and raw signal poured into him. Agony, white fire seared his veins. His body convulsed, his mind pulled between worlds. He felt the Council's leash, its grip on billions across the stars. Chains woven from obedience, and he broke them. One by one, he whispered. Defiance into the signal. Not orders, not commands, just choice. The raw human refusal to bow. The network screamed. Chains snapped. Across distant stars, alien minds blinked awake, free for the first time. Fleets faltered. Armies hesitated. The pillar shuddered. Cracks. Racing up its sides, Lyra's cry cut through the storm. Kalim, let go. He couldn't. The system fought to drag him down with it, a drowning beast pulling its killer beneath the waves. But then her hands were on his, her presence steady. You are not alone. If you carry this burden, so do I. Her light poured into him, not human defiance, but Varan hope. Together they flooded the core with more than resistance. They gave it unity. The pillar could not bear it. With a scream that shook mountains, it collapsed inward, light imploding, shards blasting. Across the chamber, the signal died, silence fell, smoke drifted. Bodies lay still. Kalen slumped, half dead, chest heaving. He expected nothing but darkness. But Lyra knelt beside him, hand on his heart. Still beating, she whispered, tears streaking her face. You stubborn Deathworlder. Holt staggered forward, voice hoarse. The signal's gone. Look. Through cracks in the ceiling, they saw the sky. The Council fleet wavered, formations broken. Ships turned on each other, crews no longer bound by the leash. Human and Varan vessels surged through the chaos, not as prey, but as equals. For the first time, the battlefield belonged to no empire. The war was not over. The Council would rally. More battles would come, but something greater had been born in that cavern. Kaelin sat up, every muscle screaming, and looked at Lyra. She met his gaze, and in her eyes he saw not fear but trust. That was the victory. Not ships destroyed, not enemies slain, but a bridge built, unbreakable. In the aftermath, as the wounded were carried and the dead honored, Holt stood with Kaelin and Lyra at the mouth of the cavern. Word will spread, Holt said quietly. The Council's leash is broken. Worlds will rise. Kellen's voice was rough. They'll come for us harder than ever. Let them, Holt replied. We'll show them what unity looks like. Lyra touched Kaelin's hand, her crest shimmering faint. This is only the beginning. Above them, the storm cleared, revealing stars bright and unchained. Humanity had brought defiance. The Varans had brought hope. Together, they had brought freedom. And somewhere in the void, the Council watched their empire crack. The Deathworlders had crossed their domain, and nothing would ever be the same again.